What's up, fellas? How you guys doing?
Good, good, man. You know, it's fight week. You know, we want to talk little Woodley, Jake Paul, but first I got to get your take on Manny Pacquiao and Ugas after the fight. Manny Pacquiao's always been a guy, we know him as respectful and, you know, not a sore loser, that type of guy, but he has some comments to say about Ugas recent, I think earlier today or yesterday, saying that he should have won that fight. Ugas is the easiest opponent that he's ever faced, and he kind of wants to run the fight back. Almost embarrassed with the fact that he lost to a guy like Ugas. And I just want your take on the fight and on that comment.
For starters, I've known Ugas about 6-7 years now, and man, we bumped into each other like 3-4 years ago, and I was telling him like, man, you're gonna be a world champion, just because his pedigree, amateur-wise, wasn't like a lot of the other Cubans. But just like fighting pound for pound, getting in there and just brawling it up with guys and staying very safe. This guy's one of the best in the business, period. So when that fight got announced, I was, man, ecstatic. I knew it was going to be a tough, amazing fight, but it showed Ugas is just bigger, harder hitter, and does a lot of damage. Manny had numerous moments in the fights, had many spots in the fights, but the overall ring generalship and consistency of the fight and the harder shots were obviously Ugas, you know?
Right.
I know Manny threw more punches and stuff like that, but I just didn't see him dent Ugas ever. You know, he might have caught a couple good ones in there, but I saw the difference in power every time Ugas touched him. He might be just too big, too strong. I don't know.
You think Manny, because he's a legend, he can get away with a comment like that, or you think he's going to have to prove that with a rematch?
Man, Ugas is my countryman, but one of my favorite all-time fighters of life is Manny Pacquiao. I love everything about this guy. Since he took the Ugas fight, it just made me even respect him more. Not too many people know Ugas. We know Ugas, but the rest of the world doesn't.
Right.
I don't think he even had to take that fight, you know?
Right.
But he's such a fighter, such a competitor, and I think that's what we're seeing come out of him, is that he's sore that he lost the fight maybe and wants to run it back. Manny's great, but it's also like an ace thing. He's not the same Manny as he was 3-4 years ago, so I don't see the outcome changing. Though I think Manny's one of the greatest fighters to ever do it. He could do anything possibly, but I would go on Ugas with the rematch as well.
No doubt.
Especially right now.
Listen, so I'm on record, Jorge, disagreeing with you with this Tyron Woodley and Jake Paul fight, right? For some reason, I see Jake Paul winning this fight. Now listen, you know, I'm a boxing purist, and I think Tyron Woodley, obviously, he was a former UFC world champion, hell of a fighter, but doesn't have that much experience in the ring without being able to grapple, without being able to kick. And, you know, lately, you know, even when he was in the cage, he wasn't at his best, so to speak. So I just think that Paul has a little momentum now. He might be a little too big for Woodley. Why do you disagree with me?
The only thing I can give you going into the fight is ignorance is bliss, right? Jake might think that better than Woodley and you know, somehow, some way put it off. I just don't see it. Woodley has more quality sparring sessions that I've seen even myself against high-level boxers than Jake has right now, currently today. Yes, Woodley might have not won his last 2-3 fights in the UFC, but he was fighting animals that do this for a living. They've been doing this since 6-7 years old, just like me, in the gym day and night. Their only dream is to fight for the UFC and to be a world champion. Jake Paul is not in that group yet, you know? Now when he fights Woodley, he's fighting somebody with hands. Who are the guys that Jake has beaten?
Ben Askren, a YouTuber, and Nate Robinson.
So we're giving him credit
Anderson,
for
No, I'm not giving him credit for that. I'm giving him credit for putting the work in the gym, trying to prepare for the fights. But I'm not saying he's beat some credible opponents.
No, I know, but we're giving him credit for being in the ring more than Woodley, but the opposition hasn't been
true.
You know what I'm saying?
True. Right.
And we're talking about sparring matches. I mean, I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen it on video and in person. From Woodley sparring here in Miami with high-level guys, so sparring with high-level guys 5-6 years ago at Freddie Roach's gym. You know, Wild Ace, right?
Right. Wild Card.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Wild Card. He's been going there 5-6 years. So I know a lot about Woodley personally. We're good friends, so it's different. How much I know about it, but this guy eats, lives, and boxes every freaking day. Boxing is like his favorite thing, you know?
Right. The reason why we thought it was strange when you made your comment, we didn't know if it was personal or what, because we thought you were siding with Jake Paul when he was fighting Ben Askren. I thought you guys were cool then, and you was helping. Is that so?
Yeah, I was the first one to say Jake's gonna knock out Ben.
Okay.
The MMA community hated me. They turned on me. They crucified me. Said, all of you. If you don't like my opinion, I'm gonna shoot from the hip. Always, I'm a straight shooter. And what happened? He knocked him out. Then everybody's like, "Oh man, Masvidal was right all along." You anyways. I'm gonna talk from my chest and say how it is. Now in the Woodley fight, I know Woodley can throw hands. I know Jake can throw hands. But Woodley, when he's training once, twice a day, Woodley's mind is on the grind. It's a different athlete. It's a different animal. Ben Askren can never produce hands, can never produce power in his hands to hurt somebody. Woodley could take your face off if he tries, you know? So it's a complete different story. It's nothing against Jake. I still am a fan of Jake and everything. Okay. But it's a different.
So what do you think? I mean, he's like one of the leaders of this social media culture. What do you think if he loses to Woodley? You think he'll still box, or should he even box, or what?
I think if he loses to Woodley, or when he loses to Woodley, what he should do is show how much he really wants it. You know, if you really want to box, what's one loss gonna do? Get out there, keep getting after it. You lost against the ex-world champion, doesn't mean anything. Go beat up another 4 or 5 guys. People will kind of forget about that loss, give you a pass for it. You're a Disney guy anyways, fighting UFC champions. Everybody's gonna give you a pass, and you get right back after it. You show the world how bad you want it. You know, win or lose.
Well, I'll tell you what. Maybe I should go with your predictions because you're not too far off. If I'm not mistaken, you did pick Conor to lose against Poirier in the rematch, right? Am I right? You did see that coming.
The first time I was wrong. I betted money on Poirier and Conor got on the first time, but I also betted the second and third, so I made up.
Now, do you see Conor coming back after that type of injury and that loss?
I don't know. I don't know about Conor, like what his actual plans are. If he has like an actual goal in mind, I don't know what it is. You know, if it's money, obviously he has money.
But can he compete at a high level in the UFC anymore?
I don't know, because to me it's like a lot like in boxing, right? When a guy gets knocked out the first time, you're always like very interested to see how he comes back, how his makeup comes back, how his chin comes back, all these questions that you have, and then they get answered when those like great champions that got knocked out for the first time ever, they come back and they rewrite history. You know, there's a lot of questions to be answered. Same thing, it's just a lot of questions to be answered. I don't know if me personally, from fighter to fighter, I would think Dustin broke him both times in a way that my will is broken and somebody pushes him to that extent again, he's just gonna give into it, you know. That's what I think. I may be wrong.
Very possible. I can't wait to see if he does come back, because not too many people lay on the floor with their legs broken and still beefing. You know, not too many people. But I want to switch back over to boxing, man. I know you're a friend of Canelo. You appreciate his style. What do you think about him fighting Caleb Plant to unify for the undisputed super middleweight championship?
Caleb's got great footwork defense. That's the guy that's the southpaw, right? Making sure.
No, he's right-handed.
He's not southpaw, but yeah, he got that slick style.
Yeah, I've seen 2 fights of his. Great footwork, great hand speed, obviously great reflexes. I haven't seen him fight a caliber of opponent like Canelo, you know? So that's always like very interesting when you're seeing like a great guy beat up guys that are not the upper echelon. You know, Caleb's beating some guys, but I don't think he's beating like the best guys of the division. Canelo's in the pound for pound top 2, you know, in the world. So it's a big step up in competition. I'm obviously leaning towards Canelo, but I think it's going to be a great fight. I'll be sitting there eating popcorn watching that thing.
So Jorge, talk about Gamebred Fighting Championship, September 11th. Talk a little bit about this, you know, this stuff this thing that you put together with this Gamebred Fighting Championship.
Well, I get a lot of exposure myself. So when we came up with the idea, we wanted just to give that exposure to the fighters back, and in a massive way. My street fights, my YouTube fights, I have fans forever from these fights. You know, like people will forever, they see me in the street, oh my gosh, it's you from those backyard days. They don't even know nothing about UFC or boxing. You just fights. So when we were coming up with the idea, we were like, man, I just want to give it back to these fighters as well, because there's like a more even primitive bond that gets made when you see somebody going bare knuckle at it. So that was the first thought, you know, and then obviously put on the most violent fights possible on earth.
Have you ever thought about fighting in the bare knuckle fighting? Because you've been fighting in the street. You know what it's like to fight with bare knuckles. Has that crossed your mind? Have you been given an offer?
Yeah, we get offers, but there's nothing I could do. I'm signed to the UFC.
Are you going to be in Ohio supporting Woodley against Jake Paul this Sunday?
We had signed on to a private community before, but I'll be glued to my phone watching it, you know, paying for the pay-per-view, all that.
When should we expect you in the cage again?
We're going to Las Vegas in about 2 weeks. Like 2 weeks. we're gonna get in front of all the shot callers then, and they're gonna start, you know, handing out names and dates, and we're gonna see which one suits us the best and go from there.
Nice.
Can't wait to see you in there again, man. Thanks for taking the time as always, champ.